First time I've done that in a while. Welcome. This is Foxer90 here, and today I am going to share some plans of mine and where I plan to go with this channel. So, I write stories. It's pretty obvious. However, the quality of these stories has, well, ranged, to say the least. And I'm aware of it, and I'm willing to admit it. I wish everyone could do that. If you've seen them, I'm sure you are bent to agree as well. From my Wendigo of the South trilogy to the Another Day at Freddy's stories, which are totally not my only creations here on this channel, it's been a bit of a ride. But there's a reason for this. The stories I spent years on, the ones truly close to my heart, are the ones I'm holding back from sharing on here. I want their executions to be perfect as I can make them. And so, for now, they are on the back burner. But this doesn't mean I don't want to talk about them. Quite the opposite. The Wendigo of the South is derived from my Wolf and Fox horror stories, decades worth of horror, mystery, and intrigue, packed into an in-depth story focused not only on the brutality of it all, but the strength and resilience one has when confronted with such horrors. There is also Another Day at Freddy's, which is my rewrite of sorts for Five Nights at Freddy's. A part of it, at least. The groundwork, so to speak. I plan on more, eventually. It's a bit of a reflection of my hopes for the Wolf and Fox. Another Day at Freddy's is, just in a more familiar form to the masses. However, I've got more than just these two to share. In fact, I spent the last few months crafting together different stories, scrapping them, and then doing it all over again. Again, and then again. Just trying to figure out what's best. What could be good? What gives off too much information? What gives off too little? And it's a challenge. It's been a challenge. But it's what I'm willing to take. Which is why this video is being made. I am going to essentially lay out my plans for the future, but also see where those little who are likely watching this want to see this go. What you choose. So, without further ado, let's get into it. So, like I said, I won't discuss the direct events tied to my mainline stories, but I can write side content attached to them. This has already been done with The Wolf and Fox. It is a multi-generational horror story with a handful of intriguing, terrifying, and sometimes nasty, monstrous canine figures. Taking inspiration from Skinwalker lore, at times Wendigo lore, and a bit of inspiration from Five Nights at Freddy's style, coding in certain places. Its content would delve into creatures such as the Wendigo Wolf, also known as the Carnage, a brutish monster lusting for human blood. The Umbra, a mysterious yet unsettling figure that has a lesser kill count than the Carnage, but known to draw the death out a bit more. Deaths of its victims is what I mean. There's also the Ghost of the Wolf and Fox, the Scorch, and many others, which are a bit similar at times, and there's a reason for that, but I can't really get into that. I do actually have a plan for a Halloween special relating to the Wolf and Fox. A single video rewriting the Wendigo of the South. The trilogy you have here on YouTube right now was admittedly a bit rushed, and it didn't come out quite the way I had hoped it would. So I'm going to change that. If I do the rewrite, which I'm more than likely doing, though I can't make any promises I can't keep, it is more than likely going to be maybe an hour long. Definitely going to come out if I am sure it's of good quality. You know, I don't want to release any poor quality stuff. But that aside, next story is Hellish Paradise, taking place in a world in which humanoid animals exist. Yes, furries exist in this world, but they're not natural. They were genetically engineered bioweapons created by the United States government, who then gained sentience and essentially, long story short, got integrated into society, but under heavy restrictions. No guns, no free speech, nothing promised to the average United States citizen. Kind of showing what the government is capable of if you don't have your pew-pews or your, voice cords, vocal cords, what they can do whenever you can't really have any of that. They're treated more akin to pets to some. However, their nature as literal bioweapons have them viewed to many others as tools in crime. They have potential in that regard. This whole scenario would be explored in Kane, a story about a fox hybrid named Jose Kane as he arrives in Paradise City during the late 80s and finds himself facing new challenges, having to look after a child living in a sketchy apartment and ending up in the pocket of an organized crime syndicate, with the way out slowly closing. He kind of gets himself into some deep shit. Anyways, finally, last story. Last but not least, the Donum Draconis. Unlike the others, it doesn't quite have a clear angle. It's a world heavily inspired by the Elder Scrolls, and if you know what that is, you're amazing. However, this doesn't mean an overarching story isn't currently in development. It's medieval in the sense magic is scarce, but it's known. Many fantastical creatures are hinted at, but rarely confirmed to actually exist in the world, if so, then under heavy scrutiny and conjecture. Much like the real world. If this is chosen, then the story of Azrael Cyrus will be shared. The events leading up to the legendary Crusade of Pyre being shared, alongside the actual crusade itself. Azrael taking blood vengeance against all vampire kind after his family is killed out by them. No pun intended. Actually, you know what? Now it's intended. Discovering many elites to be blood-sucking monsters. Kind of like recent history in our own world, now I'm thinking about it. So, little recap on all the options here. We got The Wolf and Fox. It promises stories about paranormal entities, specifically the Carnage, which is planned to be told in the 13 accounts of the Wendigo Wolf, which is a collection of first-hand accounts relating to the Carnage. There's Hellish Paradise, which promises a story told of someone facing what actual oppression means. What it's like in a time where I'm so oppressed, and that's so oppressed. It's really just thrown around anymore for political reasons. This is supposed to show what actual oppression's like, but it also shows that he himself isn't exactly all innocent either. No one is all innocent. He made bad choices and got himself in a bad situation. Much like a lot of people do. And it's supposed to, maybe strike a couple chords here and there. And finally, there's the Dawn of Draconis, which promises a Doom Guy kind of figure with some layers to him as he aims to wipe out all vampires from existence. So, now the ball is in your court. In the style of the United States of America, I will let you decide what you want to see, or rather hear. First, I plan to release all of this in due time. However, my indecisive nature makes it a bit difficult to choose. Just keep in mind that whatever is chosen will look like, well, this. I'm not quite the animator, and I don't really have a better camera than this. And so far, this is my only place I can actually do recordings at. At least right now. Anyways, I will hold a poll on my X account. You can find at FoxOG90. It's I get a little political sometimes, but I'm trying to focus on my stories a bit more now and more light stuff. However, of course, if you don't have access to X or Twitter, if you want to call it that, then you can do something as simple as commenting under this video. It's very simple. Just say The Wolf and Fox or Hellish Paradise, or you get it. You have a brain. I will compile any comments I could get under this video of your suggestions with any possible votes I can get on my X account, and compile them, add them up, and go from there. I do plan on releasing all this that I just shared in due time, from the 13 accounts to the Wendigo Wolf, Crusade of Pyre, Kane, all of it I want to release in due time. And no matter what is chosen, there is going to be a Halloween special for the Wolf and Fox. All this aside, have a great day, and I will see you whenever the vote count is complete and I get something out. Of course, that's also assuming I get votes, which, debatable, but I see at least one, maybe two. We'll see. Anyways, have a great day. I will see you next time, and if you have a cat, make sure to give him love. Cats are amazing, truly spectacular. I'm trying off topic, so before this turns into 30 minutes, goodbye.